Yeah, so I've started the recording, so we'll proceed from here. So welcome our guest speaker today. Her name is Amarachi. So she's going to do a brief introduction of herself. Like I said earlier, she's a professional data engineer. So if you are going to data engineering, just hold that tight. So
Hi everyone. Okay, so my name is Amara and I'm a data engineer. And I consider myself a lifetime learner because this learning never stops. So I'm still learning and I'll also be happy to learn from you as well. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now so that we can get started. I hope I can share my screen. What's going on?
Yeah, can you share your screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to know the right one to share. I'm not very conversant with Zoom. I'm always on Google Meet. So
Yeah.
okay, let me check if it's this one. I don't know. If not, go and share the wrong screen. uh, oh my God. There's a setting on my laptop that I need to change. Like the permission to share my screen. I haven't shared my screen on Zoom before.
Okay, yeah, so I think it's common with Mac users. So you have to change the permission on your Mac.
Yeah, so let me quickly do that now and then share.
Okay. So as she's trying to settle that, I hope we have gained something in this section, and to an extent, we have gotten understanding of what the cloud is all about. I know it might be tough at this stage. Some people still trying to figure it out. Was it? Am I getting it right? So when I started my journey too, I was as confused as you are.
Sorry, I need to quit and log in back. So excuse me.
Fine. Yeah, so many people might be wondering, like be convinced about, like confused rather, like what is it? That when I started into the cloud, I have a lot of questions. How does it work? Is this thing for me? Can I really fit in it? So as I go more in it, then I become so confident that I'm the best in this thing. So that's how it's going to be for you also. So once you just start, just keep going and keep going. So that's the secrets behind it. So
All right, let me try that again.
okay, so I will have to make you host, so you're gonna. Okay, so you can share your screen now. Can you? Oh, okay, yeah, great. Okay. You're on mute.
Okay, I think I've started that now.
Yeah.
All right. So my name is Amara once again. I think I've introduced myself before. So we'll be going through Google Cloud platforms, sorry, to give a brief introduction. I'm kind of nervous. This is my first time doing this kind of this kind of presentation. So if you don't mind my jittery. Um, I can't scroll. Okay. So in this session, we're going to have a brief introduction of cloud computing. I know we've been doing that for the past few days we've been on this session, but I'll just going to have a very, very brief introduction to it. And then we'll talk about the GCP platform and the services. And then we'll go ahead to have like a brief demo of things you could possibly do with GCP. And then at the end of it, we'll now do some question and answers. That doesn't mean you can't still ask me questions during the session. Like if you feel like anything you want to ask, or you could just like let me know, and then I would answer that. So Segun and Samson, they've already gone through cloud computing, right? But cloud computing is just basically you doing something with somebody else's computers. And when I mean by somebody else's here, I mean cloud providers. So if you are doing anything, or you are running a code on Google Cloud Platform, you are running that code on Google Cloud. I mean, if you're running a code on Google Cloud Platform, you're running that code on Google Cloud computers. And if you're running a code with an AWS platform, you are running that code with AWS computers. So that is basically it. Cloud is not like the cloud or the sky or anything. No, it is basically an abstraction of what we're already used to, but now you can access it in the internet. So like I said, the Google Cloud Platform is a set of computing services provided by Google that runs the same infrastructure that Google uses. So that same infrastructure that runs YouTube, Gmail, Search, Maps, and all of that is the same thing we are going to be using. And they are just for you to, I just call it like hiring something. You go and hire a particular compute resource you want to use, and when you're done, you give it back. It's as simple as that. That's the way I think of it, honestly. Sorry, am I going back up? Okay, so Google Cloud data centers, there are a lot of data centers all around the world, and they are located in different regions. So a collection of data center, okay, a data center is like a building that has these compute resources, right? And then if you have like a particular if you have data centers, like multiple data centers in a particular zone, in a particular area, let's just call it a zone. A collection of data centers in a particular availability zone is called a zone, right? And then multiple zones make up a region. So these data centers run compute, network, and storage. You're going to talk about this in detail later. So the Google Cloud services that Google offers, there are actually a whole lot of them, and they keep let's say producing, or they keep manufacturing, whatever word that is, but they keep making more services to meet their customers' needs. That's us. We are the users of these services. So they think about what we could possibly need and how they could solve our problems, and they'll come up with a service or a product that we would use, right? So there is compute. So compute is just basically you could use a compute to like run applications. Let's say you have written a code and you want to run it. And for instance, I'm using like a small 2010 Windows that doesn't do much, and I want to run that application that can run like maybe overnight. I don't have to worry about my compute capacity. I don't have to worry about my battery dying or whatever. So I can just quickly go onto the cloud, spin up a VM, and run my code. And then there are different services that serve these compute services. Sorry, I'm just kind of jittering. I'm really nervous. So there is compute engine, app engine, there's Kubernetes engine, cloud functions, cloud run, all these fall under compute, right? So there's data, storage and databases. So you could basically store anything you want. If you want to store like objects, say that have no structure, you could use the cloud storage. And then if you are running SQL and PostgreSQL, like structured data, you could use Cloud SQL and AlloyDB. AlloyDB is more of for Postgres, right? And other storage services as well. And then there is networking. Networking allows you to.
Sorry.
Yeah.
To interrupt. This is just like a question to make it interactive, to relieve you of all of this stuff. So you were mentioning something around you don't have to worry about your battery, and I just felt that are you serious? Because if my laptop is not charged and I spin up something and I continue that.
Sorry, I can't really hear you very well. Could you like repeat?
Okay. Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Yeah, it is.
All right. So I said that you when you were explaining, you said I don't have to worry about my compute capacity or power, and then I don't have to worry about my battery on my laptop. That I could just have a compute, a machine, and then. So I was now worried. Is it that? What if I don't have enough battery on the laptop I'm using to spin up, because I have to connect from my local machine? So does it mean that if my laptop goes off, then the work is still ongoing online? Won't the compute? Yeah. So
yes.
That's my question. Worry.
So okay, what I mean by you're not worrying about your battery dying, or you could use battery to spin. You could use your battery or your laptop, whatever, to spin up these VMs. We're going to go through how you could spin up a VM. But once that VM is spinned up and is running, you could run your code and then basically put off your laptop. You're not worrying about that. So it's now up to like the virtual machine to run all those your applications without your physical computer. It's like an abstraction of what you're already used to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it cleared my doubts. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so I don't know if anybody have any other question now that we're taking a pause. All right. Okay, let me continue. There is data migration services. Data migration is basically maybe you have like a on-premises data, like maybe on your disk, and you want to move it to Google Cloud. Say, for instance, you have, let me just say unstructured data, like maybe you have your pictures on your laptop, and say maybe it's a research picture that you want to use for machine learning, and there are quite a lot, and you want to move this data to Google Cloud. How do you do it? There are Google migration services. And then another one is database. Let's say, for instance, you have your on-premises database, let's say PostgreSQL, and you want to move that database to Google Cloud. What do? You could use database migration service. Right, so there are other tools you could use, and Google provides some of these services. And then there's also big data. Big data is basically what qualifies big data is there are 3 A's, right? It is I mean, is it 3 A's or 3 S? I can't remember actually. But the big data is data that is actually very big, that is continuously being produced in a very high speed, and you can't really like say how big it's going to become in a particular period, right? So you could use BigQuery, Cloud Composer, and then because I don't know if anybody know about Apache Airflow. It is just built on top of Apache Airflow, and then Cloud PubSub is built on top of Kafka, and Dataproc is built on top of Hadoop, and all of that. So there are also artificial intelligence services like Vertex AI and natural language processing. And then there is also security, identity and security. You know, one of the major concerns about using cloud computing is basically how secure are these services? How sure are we that we won't be hacked? You know, so there are a lot of things that have already been put in place so that you keep your data secure. And there is Cloud IAM. Cloud IAM helps you like determine who can do what on which resource. So it could help you like give access to the people that should have access to it. And then there is something they call least privilege, right? So you give access to the least possible permission someone needs to do a particular task. That's what you should give to the person, right? So that they don't have more permissions than they need. All right, so there are also other services that I didn't cover here. There are just quite a lot of them. You could read that up later. So I want to like go over to the demo and then we could see how to have an account with Google Cloud and then create a project and then we create a VM, right? And that would help to like clear the doubt of what you could possibly do with the VMs, right? So if you're on your laptop and you already have like a data, if you're connected to the internet, you could go to console.com.google.cloud, right? So when you go there, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so this took me here because I have already like created an account, right? But if you don't already have an account, you have to like create an account with Google. And when you create an account, you have to attach a billing account to it, attach like a billing to it, like your card, you know. But one good thing about Google Cloud is as soon as you sign up, you are allocated like $300 for you to like play with, right? For 90 days. So you could do whatever you want to do. You could, so long as it's within that particular amount, right? And then you also have that, you know, some other services that when you put your card and maybe the time for the period passes or the money there finishes, I mean, the money in the account, in the free account finishes, they immediately bill you or debit your account, right? But Google is not like that. When the $300 expire, they don't touch your money until you give them permission to, right? So this is my account. I haven't, like, this is my Play account. I haven't activated, after the free, I finished using the free $300. I haven't gone ahead to give permission for them to view me on this particular one. So you could actually do that. All right. And then, so let's start with a project. Say you create your account. I can actually share a resource. I will share a resource with Shegun to give you on how you could create an account. There's a step-by-step blog that's already been written. You could follow that step by step and then create your own account. All right. So to create a project is like where everything is grouped. A project groups everything together and associate it to a particular billing account, right? Say it's a collection of users, services, APIs in a particular, as abstracted in a group called a project. So a project is basically a particular project. So to create a project, you come in here and click on create a project. So you could name it anything. Forget about the organization here. I think this for like all these big companies, or it's not necessarily big, but if you have like, I think it's G Suites that you want to associate with this, that's where you put it. But without this, you could still basically create your account, right? So you can name it anything, and then you create. So it's going to take some time to finish. Okay, so it has created. So when you come here, it's called my project 8277. You can see it here. So you choose the particular project you want to work with. So right here, everything is still like, there's nothing running. It's just a completely new project. And then these are the Google Cloud services, right? So these are the ones that I've been here because I'm always using them. But this is Marketplace and other products you could use. And then there's compute. I mentioned the compute engine, Kubernetes, and all of that. They are actually, the services are grouped together based on if they are performing the same services, they are basically grouped together. Like the storage now on databases, these are where all of them are. So you don't have to like mix everything up. But most of the time, you don't have to come here at all. You could basically search for whatever it is you're looking for here, right? Okay, so I was talking about creating like a VM. So I can come here and search for cloud storage here. I mean, compute engine, or you could search it here. Okay, I haven't, I just created this account. I mean, created this project. I haven't enabled the API. So I just enabled it. I don't know if they allow me to do this because that account hasn't. It's not active. You know what? Let me use another account because I haven't like upgraded this particular account after I finished using that. So let me quickly stop sharing and I'm trying to navigate back to Zoom and I can't find it. Okay. Oh, sorry. So let me quickly use another account. That particular account, I haven't upgraded it before Google come for me. Okay. So is there any questions so far?
Yeah, so I have a question.
Okay.
So my question is on like I say AWS, you can easily create different accounts with one email. So does the same apply in GCP? And if it doesn't apply, is there a possibility of me having like 5 emails and getting $300 on each of the 5 emails?
Unfortunately not. So when you create your account, it is basically like associated with your billing, your card. So I don't think you can use one card for 2 different accounts, unfortunately. I've tried it. I've not completely tried it. I was thinking about trying it, but I read about it. You can't use the same card on 2 accounts. So that's your small mago you do in AWS. Google will catch you.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, so even if in that case, okay, sorry, I don't want to go into a mago way.
Okay.
For example, I'm just trying to, get away for people, the newcomers that, want to try to practice, and at the same way they got this exhausted and they have just a single card, So in a way, take for example, there are some platforms in which you can, we are in a digital world. You can easily a one-time use virtual card on your account and generate as many virtual cards as you want. So in that case, I think if I generate a virtual card and I use it on one account, and I generate another virtual card and I use it on another account, I don't know.
Unless so, so long as there's different numbers, yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
But don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay, I'm just asking. I will not go mago way.
Okay, I think okay, so this is the account. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Question in the chat. Someone is raising up his hand.
Okay, go ahead and ask the question, please, before we start with the demo.
So the question is, what does the Compute Engine API does, and why do we need to enable it before we get access to Google Console service?
So the API is, when you create, when you're trying to create anything, say for instance, you want to make a payment with your phone, your bank app, you're going to make an API call to that bank's backend, right? To check the permissions and everything before you are granted access to it, right? So you have to enable this. It's just like a gateway to access that particular service. So it has to be enabled for you to use it. Does that answer your question? I don't know if I did well with the answer, but
Yeah, just a follow-up question.
Okay.
On that. So I mean, every time you click enable, it's definitely enable.
Yeah.
So is there a situation where it doesn't enable? So I mean, if it will always enable, then why should they now put that gateway there?
Actually do not have enough information about. I don't know, Sacheri, can you help me out on that?
Yeah, so I didn't get a question. So what's the question, please? Can you?
So unlike AWS now, you know that any of the service you want to spin up or you want to click it is up and running. All you need to do is to supply details, right? But for this GCP now, it's telling you to enable first before you continue, or before you be granted access to use it. So my question is, all the same, it will always enable because we have to use this service, and they also want us to use the service. So I was asking if there is a case whereby you click that enable and it doesn't enable. What scenario would come up when you click it and it doesn't enable?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you said when you spin up AWS, you supply your information. Like what information? I didn't get that.
Okay, say for example, you want to use S3 buckets now. You click on S3 buckets and the service is ready for you to use. Oh. But for this one now, she clicked on Compute Engine. We needed to enable the API.
So the way they structured their API is different. So when it comes to AWS, you don't really need to use an API for you to work on the service. So what you just need is to send the request and it's going to get it. But when it comes to GCP, you will need the API. So to communicate, so I want to explain it in layman's language. Now let's look at it in this way. So in a layman's language, like someone that doesn't even know what is an API. So take, for example, you graduated from school and normally you should come and take your certificate yourself from school. But maybe you are not able to take your certificate, so you traveled and you did your convocation. So when you do your convocation, your certificate is available, but you can't come to pick it up because you are not around. Then you give someone else the permission to pick it up for you. So the certificate is still coming to you, but you are using a third party, which is that person. So that person is more like a person. You say fill the person. So that person now, like the person, is the one that will go to the school, get the certificate, then bring it to you. That's a step for you to get the certificate. Another step for you to go there directly. So AWS way is the one that you should go to school and get your certificate by yourself. But GCP way is the one in which you use the PLC, in which someone will get the certificate and bring it to you. So do you understand that explanation in a way? So, but the main objective is what? You getting the certificate. I don't know if I'm able to answer your question or if I get your question correctly.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I understand you clearly, but I was now asking, is there a condition whereby you won't be able to pass through that gateway? Is there anything that, like a condition whereby you will click that enable, maybe because of one reason or other, you're not able to access the service?
Yeah, so
do you have anything like that? Or
for,
you will always have access?
So the requirement for each resources is different. Do you understand?
Okay, see, some APIs are enabled by default, while some are not, right? So I actually do not know enough reasons why you have to enable each and every one of them, but the basic common ones that people actually do use are enabled by default.
Okay, thank you.
So only sometimes some services are not put to enable by default. They have some reason. Just for example, let's just go back to a layman's term. When you want to use your credit cards to shop online, sometimes it will require you to click on it 2 times before it can go. But sometimes when you want to use it maybe for another thing, you might just click it once and it's going to go. So it's the same principle they apply to. So some service, they are defaults. You can use the API without even going to the API to activate it. And sometimes it might not be at default. Some resources might not be at default. So it's not like constant to all resources. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Nice question.
All right. So let's go straight to creating the virtual machine. So there are different ways to create this virtual machine. Actually, there is one, you can use the Cloud Console. There is another one, you could use the command line. You could use Terraform, that's infrastructure as code. You could use Python scripts. There are different ways you could do that. But in this demo, we'll first of all start with the Cloud Console. So you click on create a VM, and then it takes you here to name your VM. So let me just leave it here as default. And then you select a region, a region, and then a zone where you want that compute to live. This is not randomly chosen, so you have to be mindful of where your customers are to place it there, and then as to reduce latency. And then also some services are not in all regions, but I know compute is everywhere, but some services are not on certain regions. So you have to like always check this service you want to like provision, is it allowed? Is it supported in this particular region? All right. So let's go with this one and US Central 1A, Zone A. And then there are different machine types. There is general purpose, there is compute optimized, and each of them have different prices. You can see the price in here is changing massively, right? This one is charged hourly, $0.17 hourly. And then this is memory optimized. You can see the price has massively increased. And then there are GPUs as well. Yeah, so it depends on which you want to use. But for this demo, I'm going to choose a very small computer. So this is machine type. So after you choose the type, you also choose, you choose the amount of CPUs and memory. The higher the memory and CPU, the higher the amount, right? So I'm going to choose a very small one. This is 1 gig, like 0.25 CPUs and 1 gig. This is the cheapest here, right? 0.01 hourly. And then there are other configurations you could do, like select a service account you want to use. So you could use the service account is like, instead of using your email address, is the email address that your applications use. All right, you could use this. So when you create, you know how you can grant permissions to a particular user. Say, for instance, now I have, okay, let me use Google Sheets, for example. You have Google Sheets. Then there are 3 permissions. There's an edit permission, there is a view permission, and there is a comment permission, right? So I can want to share a document with you. I'm saying, okay, I only want you to view it. Don't make a comment. Don't edit, right? So applies here. That's where IAM comes in. It could be like, okay, this machine right now, I only want it to access cloud storage, nothing else. So what you will do is to grant it access to cloud storage. But for this particular one, I'm going to use the default service account, right? But maybe I can go ahead and show how to create a service account after now. But let's finish it so we don't digress. So then another one is firewall rules. I don't know if you already know what firewall rules are. Like, is another layer of permissions for traffic, if you want to allow HTTP traffic in or not, right? So leaving every other thing as default. Let me go ahead and, is there anything I'm missing out? There are other configurations actually, but I will share a link with you to read more about it. So now, what's going on? Make sure the fields are selected. What didn't I select? What's going on? What didn't I? I have not seen this particular feature before. I didn't know it was there. All right, so it's going to take some minutes to like spin up. And then it's also good to point out here that unlike in AWS, where you have to choose a particular zone to create your instance at, in AWS, you have to come to the navigation part here and choose which region you want to create your resources at. So here, this one is created in US Central 1A. If I create another one in Europe, it is still going to come here, but the difference is the zone here is going to show where it is. And you can basically sort by that particular, those regions. So this is the instance. You can, did I allow firewall? I don't think I did. To log into the machine and maybe install something. All right, so we're in. Let's say, for instance, we want to install something into this particular machine. Give me a moment, please. So for instance, you want to install like an Nginx. I don't know. I don't know much about front end. Yeah, but I know Nginx is a web server. Sorry, I'm just trying to like get something.
So just a quick question. So what's the OS we are using? We are using Linux.
Yeah.
Okay, can we just do
Debian Linux? Yes.
You
can choose whatever you want to.
Okay, can we just try and do some update, like sudo apt update, and just see how it runs? Sudo apt.
Yeah, that's what I want to do now.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just see. Okay.
Yeah, it's done. So let's see, we want to install like an Nginx.
Let's just do anyone. Okay, yeah. Nice.
Okay. So it's just like you're running your specific just like you logging into your command line now to access these things, right? So I don't know, that's the initial question where someone was asking me without worrying about your laptop dying or whatever. So imagine you have a code you want to run now. You could basically run that code here and then log out, like, but don't forget your VMs, because the more it's running, the more your money is piling up, right? So you can basically forget it. Maybe say for instance, the code is going to run, like, let's say you're running a machine learning model that's going to take like days to finish. You don't want to use a laptop to do that. You could just spin up a virtual machine and then run it, even while you're sleeping, it's doing the work. Right. Okay. So I talked about service accounts. So we can actually create like a service account. So let me quickly delete this. Delete this.
Yeah, we understand. We are managing.
Yeah. Or maybe I can just stop it.
Yeah, but that will still be removing. It will still add to the.
No, wait. No, when you stop a VM, it doesn't really count.
Is
in
it
GCP.
Storage in GCP?
Yeah, it doesn't. Like when you stop, it doesn't bill you. Just like delete. Stopping it is just stopping it. It doesn't bill you. But let me just delete it just in case.
Okay, but like in AWS, once you stop the instance, it will still be charging you for storage.
Oh, that's if you have stored something inside it, right?
Yeah, regardless, because it's going to assign a storage to it, so it will still start.
Oh, okay. But there's something called preemptible VMs as well. Preemptible VMs are VMs that are very cheap. They're the cheapest you could run. And then you get it on demand, like you can just provision it. But the thing is, whenever Google wants, whenever it is needed, they can immediately shut your system down and use it. You are just like hiring a particular portion of the CPU, right? So with preemptible, you pay very little, but then it can be shut down at any time. So you basically use it for workload that is not very critical. You could
use that. You should have made it free instead of asking us for pay. Asking us to pay and let it run.
You can't have your cake and eat it now, right? You see their resource and you're using it for something. So all right, let's go to IAM and admin. So I mentioned about granting roles and permissions to some particular resources, right? So let's go to service accounts. So this is the default service account for this particular project, right? Say for instance, you want to create a particular, you want to like create a VM, but you don't want to give it all the access that that compute has. You want it to have a particular access to this particular resource. You could do that by creating a service account. What service account? Let me just name it my demo. Yeah. And then this is the ID. And then here is the rows. What rows do you want to grant this now? There are predefined roles, right? Like the editor, owner has like all the permissions, just like the editor. But when you have like viewer, they have limited permissions, but different services have different permissions. Let's say I want to give it cloud storage. Yeah, there is storage admin, there is storage object admin. These are just fine-grained. There is storage object viewer. Say for instance, you want the person to only view what is in cloud storage, or you want it to create something. The admin would grant you access to everything. You can create, you can delete, right? But you can actually read this, or you don't have to know this offhand. That's why there is Google documentation. Just go and read it and refresh your memory and give the permission, the required permission that you want to give. So here we have our demo service account. So if we should go back to Compute Engine and you want to use that particular service account to yeah, you can see it here. You can now assign it to that particular VM you want to use. All right, so that's about it. Now, what's the time? Oh, we've almost used up the time. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. So this is the demo like I prepared, unless you want to go deep down into the a lot of technicalities. But then I mentioned that you could also do this using command line, right? So to use command line, you can actually do it here. You can install Google developer kits on your laptop, like gCloud. But here this is like a VM that runs on Google resources, right? And it has like 5 gig of storage for each. I don't know if it's for each account or for each. I think it's for each account or for each project. I don't know. I have to check that. And then it provisions like a command line for you here that you could use to like run your commands. So let me wait for that to come up, and we could just create a VM using the command line. Okay, so it's up now. So this command is using gCloud. gCloud is like the command you use to create some services in GCP. So we have gCloud compute instances create. So the name of this, let me just name it demo VM. Then the machine type here is EC2, and then the zone. Let's use US Central 1, right? Oh, sorry. I think the zone I use is not supported. Let me copy and just copy this in. Okay, I didn't. Let me run that again. Visual Central 1A, right? All right, so it has created it. If you go back to your VMs, you could see it here. Basically, me personally, I prefer using command line because it's just easier instead of having to click. It just makes it a lot easier to create. Also, you can also use Terraform. Terraform is like infrastructure as code. So you could write the code and then provision resources in the cloud, as much resources. Even for the command line, you have to like create it one. But in Terraform, like you could provision up to hundreds of VMs at the same time using code. All right. So that is it for now.
Sorry, I was off for a while. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, I was off for a while when you created a service account using the console. So my question is, when I came back, I saw you choosing demo as one of the service accounts. So is it that is the VM the service account?
No, the service account is like an email that the machine uses, right? So that particular service account I created, you can use it for anything. So long as it has the right permissions to run, you could use that particular service account to run your data flow jobs. If you give it permission to run data flow jobs, you could give it permission to like Cloud Composer to run your pipeline. So it just depends on whatever you want to use it for, and then granting it the right access. But it is recommended that for each particular service you want to run, say for instance, you only want to use a particular service account for Compute Engine, create that one for Compute Engine. And then if you want to use another service account for maybe data flow, create a particular one for that data flow pipelines. So you don't have to give excess permissions to a particular service account that doesn't really need it.
Okay, thank you. But if you don't mind, towards the end, if after you can help me go over the creating of service account again. But my other question is, what does it mean to say memory optimized? Because I saw the drastic change in price. So what is the meaning of memory optimized?
So there are different machines in Google, depending on what you want to use it for, right? So I mentioned, let me start from let me quickly like search that so we could see the different information types. Yeah. Okay. So there was compute optimized. There was memory optimized. They're basically asking about the memory optimized. The machines that I actually don't know much about it. Actually, I have not yet used it, but there are machines series that are ideal for OLAP. Okay, I think I have an idea now. So for instance, you have like a huge databases that you want to run, right? So, and that requires a whole lot of memory. Like you want to run a workload that has a lot of memory, that requires a whole lot of memory. You could use the memory optimized so that it will have enough space for whatever it is you want to run.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, can I talk briefly on that?
Yeah.
So if you could remember when we are doing AWS, we talk about compute type, when we are seeing T2 micro, T1 mini, when we see T2 large. So it depends on the CPU and memory of the computer. So it's more like you can just, let's just go back to a layman's term. If you go to, let's say, you come to Computer Village and you bought a 2 gig RAM system. So if you buy a 2 gig RAM system and you are trying to load AutoCAD on it, then you know you are trying to commit suicide on that system. So someone that has 4 gig RAM on the system still might not be able to carry AutoCAD, but it won't be as slow as someone with 2 gig. So now, if you now go ahead and buy 32 gig RAM system, if you install AutoCAD, it will be as if you didn't even do anything on the system. So why? Because of the RAM, so the CPU, so the memory size, stuff like that. So that's exactly the same thing when it comes to memory optimize. So more like you using a bigger, let me use the word bigger, not bigger in terms of big, a more capacitated machine for what you are working on. So if you remember, I make an example of one machine learning model that I was building that require me to have like 10, I think it's 10 million data sets, in which I was using my local machine and I couldn't even hear anything from the machine again. It just crashed because it couldn't run it. So I have to go and rent a virtual machine online with a bigger compute space that can actually work that for me. So that's the same thing that's working about. I mean, emphasizing on rather.
Yeah, thanks.
And at the same time, I want to talk about service account briefly. I think someone raised a question regarding that at the initial. So when we are talking about service account, just see it like this. When you are, as an individual, you have what you call your user account. Maybe when you log in into one Amazon, you have a user account, you put your username and your password. Also, machines too have their own accounts. So you giving access for them. For example, if you are using what's it called? If you are trying to use Twitter to log in now, you're using the API. So that Twitter has what? It has a service account that can make it connect to your service. That's why it can work in that area. I hope you understand.
Yes.
All right. You said I should go over creating service account again.
I will appreciate that.
Okay, so you go ahead, you head over to IAM and services, or you could just search it here, service account. So whatever you want, you can definitely search it here. And then I'm assuming I'm already here. You just click on create service account, right? So you give it a name. So let me just name it demo. And you can actually give it a description. I can skip that part, but you can describe it. And then you give it a role. What do you want to use the service account for? So that's what you should consider. What are the things you want to use it for? So you come in here and grant it the right access that it needs to run that, to perform that task or function. And then you go ahead and click it. And then when you want to, you go ahead and create it. So if you're actually creating this service account to run a particular compute, you could now select it whenever it is you want to create a service account. You want to create a VM. So let me just give it access here. Let me just give the viewer role. Viewer role is like a role to view everything, every resource inside this project. But you can't edit it. You can't delete it. Or just to view it. Done. Oh, what happened here? Okay, I think they can't. Okay, now we have created a service account now, right? So if you want to create let me just go to BigQuery. Oh, since I didn't cover that today, let me not. Okay, so now we want to create this. And by default, if you don't choose a service account, to run it. It will choose to select the default service account for you, but it just select this one for you. But now, like when you enable that API, it creates the default service account for you. Right. So, but since we want to use this one, you can go ahead and choose it here and then use it to run whatever it is you want to use it for.
Okay, thank you. So what permissions are on the default one?
It has permissions for basically everything. So that's why it's advised for you to create your own and give it the right permissions you want to use it for.
Okay, sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, like this service account that you just created, can you like give an example of like a situation where this type of account can be used, like an instance that will require this type of accounts? Can you like explain?
Okay, okay, let's say for instance you want to run a code to create, you want to run a Python code to create a data flow. Let me use data flow to create a compute engine instance here now. So you can basically select a key. Okay, this is the compute default service account. This is the one I just created now. So right now I click on it. I want to generate a key that I would use whenever I want to like run that code, that Python code to create something for me, right? So I come to keys. It will create a new key for me, like a JSON. Okay, and it downloads it. So when you download this to your system, it's definitely very important to keep it really safe, because if anybody has access to that file, the person can basically run anything that service account has access to, right? So now that it has downloaded it, I think I shared only my, okay, so can I open it? Oh, you can see it because I'm only sharing particular. No, let me just stop sharing. I share this one. Okay, so this is the key that I just downloaded, right? So now, if I want to like run a code to create something for me using my command line here, I already have gcloud installed for me. I don't go through all this, but if I want to like run a code right now, I can specify a particular, so I can tell it, okay, use the service account keys that I've already downloaded and run this particular applications for me. I don't know if that makes sense to you. That's if you're not in the cloud console to choose it, because if you're in the cloud console, it's very easy for you to like choose it, right? But if you're in your command line or you're in your laptop or you are in Terraform or whatever, you want to tell it the service account it should use to run it. But there are also other types of authentication you could use on GCP, but service account comes in handy.
Okay, thanks. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Amara. Thank you for the section today. Does anybody has any question? Any more question? Oh, okay.
Well, for mine is more of a personal question in terms of my university project.
Sorry, hello. Please, you can also drop the LinkedIn profile for Amara, so we can also connect on LinkedIn.
Okay, yeah. So I will do that. I will do it for I will job the one for Samson and for Amara, so you can connect with them on LinkedIn. So, like I said earlier, Amara is a professional data engineer. So she's more into GCP professional data engineer. And to tell you, she's one of the first African to have the database Google database migration certification in the whole world. So she's one of the top.
Becoming down. It's not that deep.
So when you are connecting with her, then you know you are connecting with it's you know what I'm saying, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So when it comes to that's a niche. Yeah, so if you don't have any questions, so I don't want to take more of our time. So tomorrow we run up and we'll be talking about certification, and let's see what happens. So they want to tell us what will be in stock until tomorrow. So we'll talk about certification and some career. We round up on GCP, then we do a brief round up, then we'll talk about certification, those that are interested, what are the opportunities and what will be available. Yeah, so thank you all for coming and have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much, Amara. Thanks again.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I was asking about the personal question. I don't know whether you can help out. Yes, can I go on?
Okay, wait, can I pause the, let me stop the recording.
All right, thank you.